Short-term, long-term fuel trim, bank 1 and bank 2. To me, this is the most important information as far as fuel delivery. Fuel trim tells me what the computer wants. I mean, if the fuel trim, ideally a perfect number, would be 0.0. If the number is positive, that means the computer, for whatever reason, has decided to add fuel based upon the oxygen content in the exhaust compared to the oxygen content in the atmosphere. So it's adding fuel for typically a lean condition. Not always. It may not be a lean condition. It could be a lazy oxygen sensor, air-fuel ratio sensor. It could be a misfire that's putting oxygen into the manifold exhaust. It could be a cracked manifold, a blown manifold gasket. We just know we can't always call it misfire. It's not a fuel sensor. It's an oxygen sensor. So it's all based upon the amount of oxygen in the exhaust. But ideally, the concept is that the computer is adding fuel to try and fix a lean condition, or it needs a slight amount of fuel to get closer to perfect. Our specifications, we really want to see the short-term fuel trim floating between -7 and +7. If it's taking more latitude or adjustment above 7% positive or below 7% negative, that's a high-level indicator that I need to be more thorough in looking at the oxygen sensor. He becomes a high-level culprit of a problem if my fuel trims are above 7% positive or below -7. Specifications on long-term fuel trim, I like to see them between -10 and +10. If they go above that, +10, we're probably going to set a PO 172, 175 regarding which bank is rich. If they're below that, we're probably going to set a code PO 171 or 174 that we're leaner than where we want to be. But this is very valuable information, and you have to teach yourself, you have to condition yourself. You don't have the luxury of looking at fuel trims at one engine load or mode of operation. You need to look at it at idle, part throttle, cruise, and just before wide open throttle power enrichment, and get an idea where the fuel trims are at, because that's going to help you diagnose the fuel delivery problem. For example, let's say that my fuel trims long-term at idle are 18% positive. But as soon as I crack the throttle and start into a cruise, they fall to 8%. 18% is out of spec. 8% is in spec. Why would the computer need to add an additional amount of fuel at idle only? It's a dead giveaway. I don't even have to tell you a year, make, and model. You better start checking for a vacuum leak. If you use your smoke machine to find that, then get it out and go after it. What if, as we go into a cruise situation, every time we start to crest a hill, we see the fuel trims migrate above specification, which is 10%. Maybe we have a fuel delivery problem. Our fuel pump, our injectors are dirty. We've got some sort of, we're not getting enough fuel to that engine. What if idle, part throttle, cruise, everywhere we drive, they're positive? Maybe we have a situation where we have unmetered air between the mass air and the throttle body. Maybe we have a dirty mass airflow sensor. But you see, looking at the fuel trims in different engine loads and modes of operation is going to give us our best insight into properly diagnosing the fuel delivery system. Before we leave fuel trim, here's one other one. What if I'm accelerating and one bank on this Toyota is screaming positive, heading towards 15, 17%, and the other one's screaming negative, going towards 15, 17% negative? I got one bank going positive, one bank going negative. The negative bank is your problem child. The negative bank is where you want to start looking for your problem. you either have a breathing problem on that bank, not the bank that went positive, or you could have a variable cam timing problem, which is a breathing problem, or you could have a clogged converter that just affects that bank. So whatever testing you have in your arsenal for testing the catalytic converter, pressure test, temperature test, utilize that to see if it's a clogged converter. You could always pull the plug on each bank and do a cylinder compression test. If we really have jump time on the negative bank, we're going to have lower compression on that bank of cylinders as opposed to the other side. So a compression test may also yield some light and have you jump timing. And of course, use the data PIDs. When most mechanical things wear or break in variable valve timing or stretch, the chain stretches, they retard. So you're going to see what the computer wants in the scan tool. The actual versus desired cam timing is going to be off. That's a high-level indicator that there's a cam timing problem.